We meet Manel and his wife Julia, who are visiting their sister Belen and her son Carlos for Christmas. Carlos sees Manel's cat Lucco, and later Manel puts him to sleep and say their goodbye and leave for home. While driving, Julia asks when will they have kids of their own, but Manel does not wish to have any. This makes Julia angry and she nearly avoids an accident, but an incoming truck hits their car badly. Julia dies, and 1 year later Manel lives alone with his cat and sees the news about new virus TSJ. This virus is spreading across Europe and the government is closing borders and maintaining quarantine. Manel doesn't pay attention to this news, and we see the virus is making people turn into zombies. Manel drives to boatyard and meets some girls whom he is selling his boat to and shows them the boat. He goes down to get the papers and remembers his time with Julia and how happy they were together. Later he receives a call from Belen but doesn't answer and goes shopping and sees many people taking extra food supplies. Manel comes back home and sees the news where the government is taking all measures to keep everyone safe and secure. Later he does a video call with Belen and says he wasn't able to sell the boat, and Belen has some news. She says her family is getting transferred to Canary Island due to virus and asks Manel to come also. She asks him to take the morning flight and Manel agrees and next morning leaves for airport. He sees many families leaving and hears radio that virus spreads very quickly if someone gets infected. It spreads through wounds also, and he arrives at airport and waits in line for his flight and sees it's crowded. Suddenly, he sees all flights are cancelled, and everyone receives an emergency text on mobile. Everyone is in panic, and Belen calls and informs Manel to go home and lock himself due to virus spreading. A man grabs a gun, and all run from there, and Manel sees traffic jam on his way back and decides to walk. He takes his cat and walks back home and sees his neighbor's house is surrounded by police. He sees his neighbor is infected and has turned into a zombie, and Manel is shocked and scared to see him. Next morning, Belen calls and informs because of new variant of virus, flights have been cancelled. She tells her husband, who works in military, has informed her that government is making safe zones. They are quarantining people together, which may increase the chance of infection, and asks Manel to stay at home. Later, Manel sees news about people running and zombies attacking and eating people and gets scared. He gets an emergency alert to cooperate with military, and he goes outside and sees everyone is in panic. All the food has been looted, and Manel gets very less food, so he steals from another store. He comes out and sees an injured officer and sees a zombie attack another one and takes a weapon to help. The zombie comes and gets killed by the weapon, and Manel goes to help the officer, who stops him and shoots himself. Manel runs home and sees the government has declared lockdown, and he closes his door and windows. He installs locks and fence, and the government asks all to cooperate with military and go to safe zones. He installs cameras and at night sees all are going to safe zones with military and gets a message from Belen. She tells him not to go, and Manel hides when the military comes to his house and does not respond. They leave, and 2 weeks pass, and Manel is running out of food and gets some power due to solar panels. He records and sends video message to Belen, but sees it doesn't get delivered and decides to go out for food. He searches many houses but finds no food, and when he enters a house meets an old woman, Gabriela. She has been left behind by her family as she is on wheelchair and asks Manel why didn't he go. Manel says his brother-in-law asked him to be at home and feels bad for Gabriela and asks if she has food. Gabriela says she can tell which houses might have food since she sits at the window and observes all. Manel goes to different houses and collects food he finds, and also finds a bike in one house and takes it. He uses bike to travel to faraway house also, but sees they don't have much food with them. Manel remembers his neighbor's house was quarantined recently and goes there to search food. He hears someone coming and fires the arrow thinking it's a zombie, when actually it is a person. The person gets scared and runs away, and Manel finds lots of food and at night enjoys food with Gabriella. Manel tells her about Julia and even shows her pictures and later records a message for Belen. He apologizes for not visiting her often after Julia's death and later gets a message from Gabriella on walkie-talkie. She asks him to listen to radio where some survivors have gathered in a sanctuary and ask others to join. Manel says they must go since they are out of food and says they can take his boat, but Gabriella says no. She says she can't even leave house and Manel says he will find a way, and next day Manel gets ready. He calls Gabriella but doesn't get any answer, so he goes to her house and sees she has killed herself. She left a note saying Manel must save himself and Manel gets attacked by a zombie and he fights back. He uses his arrow gun and kills the zombie and leaves Belen a message saying he is going to sanctuary. He takes his cat and leaves on bike and sees the road is blocked and takes the road through the forest. He is attacked by many zombies and he runs from there and his bike slips and he falls down. His bike doesn't start again and he runs from there and many zombies follow him and he goes to boatyard. He locks the gate behind and sees the zombies are still following him and sees no boat are there. He takes some supplies and sees a boat in middle of water and swims to it and sees a zombie baby on it. He takes a speedboat and leaves a message to Belen saying the military safe zones are infected with zombies. She was right about asking Manel to stay at home and says everything is destroyed and his boat stops. Manel sees a ship coming and sees some men on it who help him and take him to a big ship. He meets Victor, who introduces the ship Captain Ushakov and others and asks where they're going. Manel says he is going to Sanctuary, but Victor says Sanctuary has been quarantined and no one is allowed to go now. Victor says he a helicopter pilot and shows Manel his room and says next day Manel can help them identify which places can have food. Manel agrees and asks if any more survivors were found, but Victor says Manel is the first one saved. At night, Manel sees some other survivors on a boat and next morning asks Victor about them. Victor says no one came last night and says Ushakov wants to meet him and Manel goes to his cabin. He shows them some places where they could find useful material and later sees the same boat from last night. The crew is going through the luggage and feels something is wrong and goes to talk with Victor. He asks what happened to the people from last night and says he saw someone guarding a door downstairs. Victor says the survivors are captured by Ushakov and Manel should mind his business and not interfere. Manel says he knows a hospital where there is a helicopter where they can go and fly it to Canary Island, where her sister is. Victor asks Manel to not ask many questions and goes away from there and Manel decides to leave. At night, he wears a scuba suit and hides his cat in bag and decides to go downstairs to find the people. He sees they are tied and captured and frees both of them, but a guard comes and kills one of the people. Victor comes and tries to calm the guard and then attacks him and chokes him with rope and kills him. He asks Manel if the helicoptered hospital is real and Manel says yes, and they decide to escape from ship. They quietly go outside and take a small boat and lower it down and start it, but the guards catch them. They fire and kill the prisoner, and Victor is also injured by a bullet and Manel quickly drives the boat away. He arrives at shore and tries to find a car and sees one with a zombie and kills it and takes the car. He charges his phone and says they find the helicopter and go to Canary Island to meet Belen. He thanks Victor for saving his life and Victor says Ushakov only lets people who serve him live. Rest is killed and he is trying to build his own army and Manel drives towards the hospital quickly. He cannot see the helicopter on roof and a zombie attacks the car and Manel gets down and kills more zombies. He takes Victor and they both go inside the hospital to treat to Victor's injuries and lights the room with flashlights. He sees the wound is deep and Manel tries to find some medicines and hears some noise coming. He hears some kids talking and goes upstairs to look for them and sees a zombie and hears some noise through a vent. He talks to kids and says he is in operating room and suddenly is attacked by a zombie and Manel kills him. Many zombies come there hearing the noise and Manel runs from there and blocks the door behind. A woman named Lucia comes to help him and Manel sees she has already saved Victor from there. They both carry Victor on a stretcher and meet Cecilia, who is angry on Lucia for going to help them. Lucia says Victor is badly injured and needs help and Cecilia agrees and they take Victor to a room to help. The kids play with the cat and later Lucas tells they have removed the bullet and Victor is safe now. Manel says they came here looking for a helicopter but couldn't find it and Lucia asks to come with her. She shows the helicopter is parked down but is surrounded by zombies and is dangerous to go down. At night Cecilia says they are out of food and if Victor can fly the helicopter, they can be saved. Lucia says the kids lost their parents and they are all they have and Manel says he lost his wife in an accident and she died in this hospital. He goes to visit her room and remembers her last moments and feels sad and cries remembering her. Next day, he receives all messages from Belen and sees how worried she is and she misses him a lot. He sends a message saying he is all right and coming soon to her and hears a noise and sees Ushakov. He has followed him to hospital with his men and Manel tells others they must leave before they come. Lucia says there is a tunnel which can take them to helicopter, but it recently had an explosion. They all cover their mouth and walk through the smoke and go towards a tunnel and hear the men above. Lucia sees the door is jammed and she uses an axe to break the door and is attacked by a zombie. The zombie attacks and bites Cecilia and others manage to catch the zombie and kill it, but she is infected. Cecilia tells others to go and leave her behind and others go towards the helicopter and see more zombies. Manel keeps a watch and others go through the door one by one, but suddenly zombies hear the noise. Manel and the girl hide in a locker and the zombie attack them, but Ushakov's men kill them with guns. Manel comes out of hiding and meets others, and they see they are very close to the helicopter. Victor says he will require some time to start the helicopter, and Manel comes with an idea to get near. He makes a barricade with the trolleys and hides the kids between them, and they outside surrounded by trolleys. The zombie come to attack them, but they fight back with fire extinguisher and axe, and hit the zombies. The zombies are not able to touch them, and they arrive at the gate of helicopter and go inside. Victor and the kids run towards the helicopter and Lucia and Manel stay behind to fight and lock the door. Manel locks the door and they go inside the helicopter, but Victor requires time to start it. Manel sees the zombies are coming and goes outside to fight the zombies, and Victor starts the helicopter. Ushakov and his men have also come, and they tell Victor to stop the helicopter and get out of it. Manel thinks of an idea and breaks the door guarding the zombies, and they all rush in to attack everyone. They attack and kill Ushakov and his men, and Manel fights the zombies and runs towards the helicopter. They throw a ladder for him, and Manel climbs it and reaches the helicopter, and they escape from there. Manel is happy he was able to save everyone, and he receives a call from Belen, who asks where he is. Manel says he is coming to Canary Island to be with her, and Belen says not to come here and go back. They see two fighter jets going towards the island, and Manel and others feel scared.